So we're on 54a. The new chapter starts with Haroya Makoim Shenase Boinisim. If a person sees a place that miracles happened Yisrael to the Yidden. So the Mishnah tells us that there is a mitzvah to say a bracha, to thank Hashem when we see places that miracles happened. And the examples given, well, the first it says, what is the bracha that you say? Oimer, he says, Baruch Sha'asa Nisam Labiseinu, blessed is he who made miracles to our fathers, B'mokim Hazeh, in this place. And that is the bracha. The Tosfos over here mentions that we're talking about that you did say Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam, even though the Mishnah doesn't say it. But Tosfos says it really is a real bracha that includes Hashem's name, and you also have to say Melech Haolam, and the fact that the Mishnah doesn't say it, it's just the Mishnah's writing it short without including that. There is another opinion that holds that when you see a place that miracles happened, you don't say Hashem's name, and that's why the Mishnah doesn't mention it. And you just say Baruch Sha'asa Nisam. You skip out the shame in Malchus. That's the Ravid, but doesn't seem to be the accepted view. The Mishnah continues and says a place that Avodah Zarah was removed. Makom shenekra mimenu avodas kechavim. Place that Avodah Zarah, idol worship, was removed. Omer, you have a bracha for that, and the bracha is Baruch Sha'akar Akum Me'artzinu, blessed is he who removed Avodah Zarah from our land. Now, Tosfos mentions over here that in Yerushalmi, it says that when Avodah Zarah was removed, and he uses the word from all of Eretz Yisrael, and some change it that it shouldn't be from all. From Eretz Yisrael, it doesn't have to be from all, and but basically it's talking about Avodah Zarah that was removed from the land of Israel. So the question would be: do you say this bracha if Avodah Zarah is removed from Chutz La'aretz? The Mishnah seems to say only Eretz Yisrael. So there is an opinion that says that you do say a bracha. The Rambam brings this. Shittim Mekubetzes has such a view that even in Chutz La'aretz, but you say a different wording. The bracha is Mei Hamakim Hazen instead of Mei Artzenu. Mei Artzenu means from our land. If the Avodah Zarah is removed, you would say a bracha from Makim Mei Hamakim Hazeh, from this place, which I guess could mean if there was a church that was sold, or the place is the place is no longer used. There's no worship going on there. That would, because I would think that at least there definitely are Avodah Zarah in churches, and so the fact that they read everyone here. So the fact that there is it's removed would be a reason to say Baruch Sha'akar Avodah Zarah Avodas Kechavim Mihamakim Hazeh, from this place. So that would seem to be an argument, at least according to amongst the Rishonim, among the commentaries, if a person would say such a bracha outside of Israel. Yes, Mordechai.
Yes, interestingly, something similar to this, the Chodesh that's said upon completing a Masechta that you usually find at the end of Gemara, and also the Chodesh that's recited at a burial has something in it near the beginning about that idolatry should be removed.
The unique Kaddish,
right.
That most people don't say. In fact, in Lubavitch, it's not said. Let me see if they have it here. Let me pull it up over here. So, yep. Ulamekar polchona nuchra'a min ara. You're right. It's a lot of people don't say this Kaddish when they finish a Masechta, but it is printed in the back of the Gemaras, and it's mentions and uproot alien worship from the earth. Min ara. And return the service of heaven to its place. So yes, thank you, Mordechai. That's
right. And as I said, that's also said at a burial.
It's said at a burial, right?
Yes.
Although interestingly enough, in places where the mourners can't pronounce the Aramaic, I've seen a lot of rabbis just allow the regular Kaddish. Because it's just impossible for the person who doesn't read Hebrew well to read that Aramaic. It's like a extremely complicated Aramaic. But yeah, it's said at the end of by a burial, and in most places they say it after by a siyum. So yeah, but we see in the Mishnah how important it is to get rid of this avodah zarah from Eretz Yisrael. The special bracha that one would say for getting rid of idol worship from Israel. Now the Mishnah continues and says al hazikin for the shooting stars, v'al hazvois for earthquakes, v'al ra'amim, and for ra'amim, which the Gemara will discuss what it is. The thunder, Val Haruchais, the winds, Val Habrakim, lightning, the person would say a bracha, blessed is Hashem, that his strength fills the world. Now, Alahar Malak Vais, Val Yam Alanaharais, Val Midbarais, on mountains, hills, Yamim, seas, rivers, deserts, a person would say Baruch Esav Bereshis, Rabbi Yehuda Eimer Harais Yama Gadol, Eimer Baruch Shasas Yama Gadol. Person sees the large sea, he would say, blessed is he who made the Yam Hagadol, the large sea. And the meaning of this we've mentioned is unclear if it refers to the Atlantic or if it refers to the Mediterranean. Nahar Hagadol, Nahar Pras. In Chumash, it does mention the big sea being the Nahar Pras, the Mediterranean, but there is a discussion in Shulchan Aruch among the commentaries if it's what the bracha should be when you see the ocean, or what you see, the bracha that when you see the Mediterranean, because it's an argument what it's referring to. Now the Mishnah continues and says, Bizman Ehu Leprakim, when you see it every so often, which the translation of Leprakim, Taisus over here brings down that it means from 30 days to 30 days, and brings from the Yerushalmi, and which itself is a discussion. What does 30 days mean? Do you count the day that you see it to the next day you see it, or is it in between 30? You have to have 30 days in between. But the point is that if you see it every day, you would not say the bracha. Now, there is a discussion also of this leprakim, when you see it every so often, does that go back on all the other cases? It would seem that if you see these different places, let's say a place where a miracle happened, for the Yidden, if you see it every day, would you say it every day? Or is this law of leprakim, does it go back on everything? So the Taisus over here says that the 30-day rule applies to all the other cases as well. Yes, Ben.
Why did you mention Nahar Prat?
I mentioned that that the Yam Hagadol is.
But this is a river. It's not a sea.
The term I was quoting from Parshas Maseh, Matos Mase, where it has the all the measurements of Eretz Yisrael, and where it says over there the Gvul in Mase, so it says Min Hayam Hagadol. I'm sorry, did I quote I quoted the wrong pasuk. The Yam Hagadol calls it the Yam Hagadol.
The river is the Yam HaGadol?
The western side of Israel. Where does it end? Gvul Yam, Hayam Hagadol.
Yeah, but that's okay, but that's
the Mediterranean.
Mediterranean, but what's with the Nahar Prat is not.
Okay, maybe I quoted the wrong pasuk. I was quoting. I was trying to quote the pasuk. Sorry. So it's the Yam Hagadol. So in the Chumash we find Yam Hagadol refers to the Mediterranean.
The Mediterranean is connected to the ocean, so to Gibraltar, it's connected to the ocean. So maybe that's, and it's connected to Israel, so it connects Israel to the ocean, I guess.
But there is an argument in the Shulchan Aruch if person would recite this bracha only for the Mediterranean or only for the Atlantic Ocean.
Right.
So they don't seem to want to give you the free for all. You could say it at any either of them. It's either one or the other. It seems.
From Israel, you only see the Mediterranean.
Right. Let me tell you, it's chapter 228 in the Mishnah Berurah here, in chapter 228. So, Va'al Hayam Hagadol, it says, V'hu Hayam she'oivrim boy la'eretz Yisrael u'la'mitzrayim. This is the Yam that they passed through to Eretz Yisrael, to Israel, and to Egypt. Oimer Baruch Ata Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam Oise Hayam Hagadol.
Yeah, that's the Mediterranean. Okay,
that's the Mediterranean according to the Machaber, according to the Rabbi Yosef Cairo. And the Mishnah Berurah then says, Harbe Achroinim Pligi Al HaMachaber. Many of the commentaries, the halachic commentaries, argue on the Machaber, on the Rabbi Yosef Cairo, and they hold Davka Al Yom Oikyanos. Shu Hayam Hagadol Shebachol Hayam Shamakiv Eskol Oilam Olav Kaveh Bracha B'fnei Atzmai. Only the Yam Hagadol, which is the Okeanos. Okeanos means the Atlantic. That's where the word ocean comes from, by the way. The word ocean, Okean.
There is two of them. There is the Atlantic and there is the Pacific. So
right.
But they are two big.
In modern Hebrew, I think they use Okeanos for the Atlantic. No,
no, the Pacific too.
They use Okeanos, yeah. Is that the term used? Maybe. Okay. So Aval Yam Sha'ivim B'Eretz Yisrael Lo Nichra Zeh Yam Hagadol Mavarchan Olav Mayal Shar Yamim. But according to this opinion, you don't say this bracha on the Mediterranean. So you got to choose who you're going to follow. According to the Rabbi Yosef Cairo, you say this bracha on the Mediterranean, but you don't say it on the...
Where did Rabbi Cairo live? In Egypt, didn't he?
He lived in Sfas. He's buried in Sfas.
In Sfas, in Egypt. So
he lived in other places as well.
Bless the ocean he can see, the water he can see.
But I don't believe he always lived there. I don't know the history, but I believe he might have lived in Europe as well. Spain, I don't know. I'm not sure. I have to look it up. Maybe someone else here knows the history of Rabbi Yosef Cairo.
No, but I know.
Ezra, maybe Ezra would know, but Ezra's not with us here yet. In any event, it's a big argument. Now, there is some other issue here as well, and that is, who says this? That you say a special bracha for the Yam Hagadol, for the big sea. This is Reb Yehuda, right? Now, if you remember from previously, Reb Yehuda was the one who said that when it comes to vegetables, there's 3 types of vegetables. You got to say different brachas. Legumes is one bracha, The greens is another bracha. He held that each bracha, each type of vegetable requires a specific bracha. So the Torah wants to say that this Rabbi Yehuda follows his opinion that he said earlier regarding food brachas. He follows it regarding the ocean. And the accepted view is not Rabbi Yehuda over there. The accepted view is the rabbis that we say one bracha on all vegetables. Now, if that's true, then here also we shouldn't follow Rabbi Yehuda. So we shouldn't care, according to the Torah, we shouldn't really care, according to halacha, what Rabbi Yehuda says about the Yam HaGadol, because we don't follow him. However, the other way of understanding it is that Rabbi Yehuda is explaining the Tanakh. He's not arguing. That even though when it came to brachas on food, Rabbi Yehuda held that you have to say a special bracha for each type of food. When it came here, he's just saying that he's emphasizing the fact that there is a special bracha for the Yam HaGadol, not to argue on the first opinion. First opinion was talking about general. He's explaining that, by the way, for the Yam HaGadol, there is a special bracha. So the question is there an argument or not? According to the Torah, it's an argument. According to the Rambam, it's not an argument. Everyone agrees that Yam HaGadol has a special bracha. Okay, in any event, so the Mishnah said that this applies when it's leprakim, certain time, when you see it every so often, if you don't see it daily. Now the Mishnah continues and says, Ala Geshamim, Val Basuris Tevais, for rain, for good tidings, Omer Baruch HaTeva Metiv, you say the bracha Teva Metiv, Val Basuris Rois, for bad tidings, Omer Baruch Dayon HaEmes, a person would say the bracha, blessed is the true judge. Bana Bayas Chadash V'Kana Kelim Chadashim. So what happens if you bought yourself a new house? What happens if you have new clothing or new vessels? So Aimer Baruch Shechiyanu B'Kamanu B'Yanu L'Zman Hazeh. So a person would say the bracha of Shehechiyanu. Now, the Mishnah continues and it says, Mevarech al hara'a me'ein ala toiva. You say the bracha al hara'a, which is dayon ha'emes, me'ein al ha'toiva. Even though there might be some good that's going to come out of it, you say the bracha for now. And now it's something negative. The al ha'toiva me'ein al ha'ra. You say the bracha for the good, even though it has something bad that's going to come afterwards. You say the bracha at this point, it's something good that happened to you. You say the bracha ha'toiv ve'hametiv. And the Gemara will explain the cases, but that's, I guess you can imagine what type of situation, that I guess it's easy to imagine, but we'll see in the Gemara.
Is there a blessing on a flood? When the rain flood,
Well, it depends. If you have hurricane, if you have flood insurance, you can get a whole new house, maybe.
No, but it's like,
People,
do you say Baruch Dayan Emet on a flood?
My point is, I'm not really sure. Like a hurricane nowadays, for us, a hurricane is like a blessing almost. The public adjusters make a killing on a hurricane, and the homeowners also do very well on hurricanes.
No more. They're cracking down.
They're cracking down? Oh.
Right now, they put I just spoke to somebody who's a public adjuster. He's getting out because they're requiring statements now, and they're warning you of criminal penalties. The game's over.
Oh, boy. All right. Well, it was a very good business until now, I'll tell you that. We might have to go back to the bracha. The Yiddish saying was, "Wie macht man a hurricane?"
No. It was two guys meeting on the boardwalk in Miami Beach. And the guy says, "What are you doing here?" He goes, "I'm retired." He goes, "Retired?" He goes, "Yes, Baruch Hashem. We had a fire, the whole business destroyed back and forth. Baruch Hashem, I was insured. They paid, so I decided to retire. He goes, Baruch, Baruch. What are you doing here? You were in the crystal business. He goes, can I tell you, one day we had a flood, ran through the building, destroyed everything. Me too, Baruch Hashem. I had insurance, paid me off. I also decided to retire. Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem. Let me just ask you one thing. Sure. How do you start a flood?
That's terrible.
Anyway, so the bottom line is, it actually is a shaila. We have to think about this. What, if a hurricane really is not like it used to be, so would you say these brachos? You know what I mean? Like,
Rebbe, you often make two brachos. If somebody dies, but he's going to inherit, he says Baruch Dayana Emes, and then he makes a Shechianu.
Right. But this is almost all good. I mean, it's in a certain sense. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like it might be different because here, it's almost like you're destroying your house to get a new house. Anyway, it's something to think about. We'll have to look into it.
Chas v'shalom. And just the Agnes Nefesh.
Yeah.
We'll have to think about it. All right. Anyway, about Hatzoyek L'Sha'avar. Now comes the next piece. Hatzoyek L'Sha'avar, a person who davens for something that already happened. Harezu Tfilah Shav, this is a prayer in vain. Something that happened already, you can't change it. It happened. You could change the future. You can't change the past. And it gives an example. If a person's wife was pregnant, and he says, I daven that my wife should give birth to a male. Well, it's not so simple. If the baby is already a female, what are you davening? After 40 days, it is, the baby is what it is. It's either a male or a female. The davening now that it should be a male is in vain. So harezu tefillah shav, that's a tefillah prayer in vain. Now, if it's before 40 days, you could take a daven for it to be a male. But after 40 days,
too late.
It's too late. Now, you could daven for it to be healthy, or that baby should be, should stay from, should do mitzvahs, but to daven for the past, that's tefillah shav. Person is coming on the way, and he hears the sirens, he hears screaming in the city. And he says, he davens, Hashem, please, I hope it's not in my house. Again, this is a prayer in vain because it's either in his house or it's not in his house. Your prayer is not retroactively removing the facts that happened or whatever is there. So you're davening for something in vain. Prayer has to be something that is real. It's more than just asking Hashem to retroactively remove something is a prayer in vain. Nichnas lekrach, a person who enters a big city, mispalal shtayim, he should daven twice. Aras b'chnisasai, once when he enters, v'achas b'yitziasai, and once when he leaves. And Ben Azai says arba, daven 4 things. Shtayim b'chnisasai, shtayim b'yitziasai, 2 when he enters, 2 when he leaves. And the reason for that is Noisen Haida al Sha'avar, B'tzayik al Asid, he's going to give praise for the past, and he's going to beg Hashem, cry for the future. He's davening for tefillos, but the 2 of them are more thanks for entering in peace and being in peace for the past, thanking Hashem for the past. Now, Chayav Adam levarech al hara'ah kshem shemavarech al ha'tova. A person is obligated to bless Hashem for the bad the same way that he blesses for the good, which means he should have the same joy for the bad as he does when he blesses Hashem for the good. Shneimar says, "V'yahavtas Hashem elokecha," you should love Hashem your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might, and b'chol levavcha b'shnei yitzarecha, with all your heart means you should love Hashem with your both yitzers. You should love Hashem with b'chol levavcha. It means both of your inclinations, b'yetzer toiv, b'yetzer hara, your good inclination and your evil inclination. Now, b'chol nafshecha means afilu noitelas nafshecha. Even if he takes your soul, you should thank Hashem. And b'chol ma'idecha, b'chol memoincha. Person should love Hashem with all his money. And the Mishnah gives another explanation. Davar acher b'chol ma'idecha, b'chol mida umida shumayded l'cha heavy maydalai. B'chol ma'idecha means, however Hashem acts towards you, you should give thanks to him. And so here we see that a person is obligated to bless Hashem for the bad the same way he blesses Hashem for the good. So you really see that from the b'chol me'oidecha, b'chol mida umida. Every way Hashem blesses you, Hashem acts towards you, you are thankful to Hashem. You know that whatever Hashem does is for your good. Now, the Mishnah continues and it says, "Lo yakil adam as roishay keneged shara mizrach." Person facing the east gate of Har Habayis, of the mountain that the Beis Hamikdash is on, a person shouldn't act with kalus roish. Person shouldn't act lightheaded and jokingly. And the Mishnah continues and it says, "Shahu mechuven keneged beis kodshei hakadoshim," because this gate, the gate of the eastern gate, is facing the Chodesh HaKadoshim, the Holy of Holies. And even though it's far away from the Holy of Holies, it's facing it, and therefore you are considered standing opposite it. You need to have respect towards the Chodesh HaKadoshim, towards the holiness of the Beis Hamikdash. Now, the Mishnah continues and it says that certain things you can't do, like you shouldn't enter the mountain, the Temple Mount, the makloi, with the person's stick, and the stick would be dirty. They would walk with it, it was used, I guess, for long walks that they would take. It would get muddy and so on. One of the commentaries mentions this doesn't apply to someone with a cane. It's talking about a stick that was not just to help a person walk, but more, I guess, for the long hiking type of stick. And min oloi, person's shoes, uva pandasai, and his money belt, uva avak sha'al raglov, and the dirt on one's feet. Kapendri, a person should also not shorten his way, make a shortcut through the Har Habayis, through that area. Rakika, a person for sure should not spit in that area in Har Habayis, on the Temple Mount. Nowadays we don't go to the Temple Mount. It's very hard to get. It's very hard even if someone wanted to go there. because the Israelis don't really like Yidden going up there, starting issues with the Arabs, but there are times that they open it up and allow Yidden, it seems, to go there. But there are issues with going there and not being pure and so on. So a lot of Yidden don't enter that area. And so the Mishnah here says that there are certain laws about going in that area, about not going with your money belt and dirt, and not using it as a shortcut. Rikika for mikavachemer, from a kavachemer, we know that it's prohibited. If you can't go with your shoes, for sure you can't go you can't spit there. Now, it's part. These are all part of the mitzvah of Moira Migdash, that it says Mikdashi Tira'u. You should be fear my Beis Hamikdash. The Mishnah continues and it says, Kol me brachos sheba Migdash hayo aymen ad ha'olam. When people would finish a bracha in the Beis Hamikdash, they would end the bracha ad ha'olam. That's how they would end, by saying, "Blessed is Hashem ad ha'olam, forever." Misha kilkalu atzadukim. The problem was that the tzedukim who didn't believe in olam haba, the next world, so when they started trying to convince people, when they were popular, these tzedukim trying to convince people their views, once their opinions became once they started their shtick. So v'amru, when they said ein olam ela echad, there's only one world. You see, ad ha'olam, they almost like brought proofs from the fact that we said ad ha'olam. So therefore, Ezra was masakin. He made a decree sheyehi oimrim min ha'olam v'yad ha'olam, that we should say that Hashem from this world to the next world, which means that there's more than one world. There is olam haba, there is tchias hamesim, there's more than one world, and they made sure to emphasize that so that no one should think the mistaken views of the tzedukim had any legitimacy. And we know the tzedukim, the way they started, they didn't believe that there's reward and punishment, and that was part of their mistake. They were taught that you shouldn't serve Hashem for reward, but the conclusion they came to was, that means there is no reward. But that's wrong. There is reward, just that you're supposed to serve Hashem on a higher level than to just think of your reward. And so anyway, they promoted their mistaken view, and they had a following. There were tzedukim, baitusim, two groups that basically followed their view, and they started the two people, tzaduk and baitus. They were two friends, two students of Antignos Ish Seicha, two students who they started this view based on the fact that they didn't believe in the reward and punishment, and ultimately the rabbis made this takana that in the Beis Hamikdash they would say min ha'olam v'yad ha'olam. They would say by a bracha, instead of finishing a bracha ad ha'olam, they would finish it min ha'olam v'yad ha'olam. And so they would say in the Beis Hamikdash, they would say, the person would say the bracha, Baruch atah Hashem Elokei Yisrael min ha'olam v'yad ha'olam Baruch Cheinen Hadas. And that's how they would say the brachas, and the people would answer Baruch Shem Kvod Malchusa v'olam va'ed. It's a Gemara somewhere else. It's not a Gemara here, but Rashi brings it down here. It's the specific way they would say a bracha in the Beis Hamikdash. But in other words, the original way it was said was Baruch Atah Hashem Elokei Yisrael ad ha'olam. That's the way it initially was, and then they changed it to min ha'olam v'yad ha'olam to emphasize that there is more than one world, and people shouldn't be mistaken with the view of the tzedukim who don't believe that there's a reward and punishment. They also didn't believe in tchias hamesim, the resurrection of the dead. Okay. Then comes the next point in the Mishnah. that v'hiskino sheyehei adam shoyol es shleim chaveroi b'shem. They also were masakin that a person should use Hashem's name when they say Shalom Aleichem. So this initially would have been thought of as it's a problem because you're using Hashem's name for mundane purposes. It's almost like in vain. But the Ezra and his Bezdin, they were masakin that this is the appropriate thing. And it brings a proof from Boaz. Shenemar, as it says in the story of Ruth, Boaz came and he said to the harvesters, he says, may Hashem be with you. Hashem imachem. And they answered, let Hashem be blessed. And we also find the Malach said, Hashem imcha, may Hashem be with you. And we have another pasuk, Al tavos ki zikna zakna imecha. Don't go against. You should learn. Don't be mevaze the ways of your mother's, your elder mother. In other words, follow the ways of your tradition. V'aymer, and another pasuk says, Eis Hashem, a favorite to Rasecha, a time to do for Hashem. The Torah is sort of, I don't want to use the word desecrated, heferu. They go against the Torah. And Reb Nosson explains, Reb Nosson Eimer, heferu tarasecha, you can nullify something in the Torah because of Eis Lashem, Mishum Eis Lashem, that because this is the time that you're really honoring Hashem, your purpose is to bring Hashem's name into the language of people. So because of this, you're allowed to go against the word of Torah in order to, because it's a Eis Lashem, it's for Hashem's purpose. Of course, you have to be careful how far to take that. But the understanding of this Mishnah is that it applies in this case where you use Hashem's name when it comes to giving Shalom Aleichem to people. Now, it's not the common custom nowadays. We don't say Hashem's name, but this was established in the time of Ezra. The question was, if it was established in the time of Ezra, what did Boaz do? What was Boaz's position over here? So what it seems like that at least one of the commentaries explains that Boaz started. Boaz was one of the people who did it, but it was only done by the Gedolei Hadar. It was only done by the great people. And Ezra was Masak, and Ezra established that it should be a common practice. And this was one of the additional decrees of Ezra, that people should use Hashem's name when they greet people. And the purpose is that it should be Hashem's name versus an idol, or Hashem's name should be on the forefront of people's minds. Yes, Ben.
But we say it in Birchat HaLevana, Kiddush,
What do we say?
Shalom Aleichem, Aleichem Shalom.
But we don't say Hashem.
When we say Shalom.
Shalom is the name of Hashem, but it seems from this that it's more than that, that you would say Hashem's name, B'Shem.
Oh, I
Shoyel Eslem Chaveroi B'Shem.
I don't know how they would do that, but
Yivarechecha Hashem imachem.
Oh.
So, it's definitely surprising. We would think that it's saying Hashem's name in vain. Okay, now we're going to start the Gemara. The Gemara says, Menahani Mili, how do we know that you're supposed to thank Hashem for miracles? Now, the Gemara says, I'm Rabbi Yochanan Damakra, because the pasuk says, the verse says, V'yam Yisrei Baruch Hashem Asher Hitzal, that Yisrei said, blessed is Hashem, that he saved you from the hand of Mitzrayim, from the hand of Paroi, that he saved you from the hand of Egypt. So this, we learn from here that a person should recite a bracha when he sees miracles happen, when he sees, like in this case, Yisro saw the Jewish people and he saw that they were redeemed from slavery. So this is the appropriate time to say a bracha. So the Mishnah says when you see a place that miracles happen for Yidden, you should say this bracha, Baruch Shas Nisim Laviseinu. Blessed is Hashem who made miracles for our forefathers in this place. Now the Gemara asks, so Anisa the Rabbim of Archinon, so for miracles that happen to all of Yidden, like the case of Yisro, that you say a bracha. Anisa the Yachid Laim of Archinon, but you don't say a bracha for individual miracles. And now the Gemara gives two examples, two cases. Whom Gavra, who was that person, the Havakal Azal, he was going the Aver Yamina in a place called Aver Yamina. And Nafalale Arye, a lion fell on him, wanted to tear him up in pieces. The Sabid Lainisa Vitsalmine, a miracle happened, he was saved. Asal coming to Rava, came before Rava, Bamarle, call Amos the Matis Lahasam. Whenever you go to this place, Berich, you should say a bracha, Baruch Shasali Nes B'Makom Hazeh. You should say, blessed is Hashem who made a miracle for me in this place. So you see that you do say a bracha even for an individual miracle, not only for a miracle where the entire Jewish people were saved. You say a bracha for an individual. The Gemara continues and it says, another story, Mar Berei de Ravina. The story of Mar, the son of Ravina. Another miracle happened. What was the miracle? Havaka Ozil, he was going B'Pachsa the Aravais. He was going in this valley of a place called Aravais, and Utzcholamaya was thirsty. Nisa, a miracle happened. They were like Ina Demaya of Ishti. So a miracle happened that the well was created there for him, and he drank. Vasu, another miracle happened to Mar Berei Ravina Zimnachad Havaka Ozil Barak Baristika de Machayza. He was in the marketplace of Machayza. Falale Gamla Paritza, a wild camel fell on him. Isparkale Ashisa, and there was a wall nearby that fell, of a house that fell. Alagava, so he entered into there to hide from to save himself from this camel. And Kimata La Aravais, and when he arrived in Aravais, Brich, he said the bracha Baruch Shasli Nes Aravais Uva Gomel. Blessed is Hashem that he saved me from these two places. Aravais was where he was thirsty, and Gomel is from the place where the camel that was wild was going to jump on him or tear him apart or whatever. Kimata Laristika, the Mechuzan, whenever he happened to be in this place where the story of the camel happened, this marketplace of Mechuza. So he would say the bracha, thank you Hashem for making me a miracle in these two places. Now, what's interesting is we see here that he would include all the places where the miracles happened to him, not just the miracle that happened in this place, but he would include also the miracle that happened in the other place as well. So the Gemara's question was, it seems that maybe you only say a bracha for a miracle of the entire Jewish people. And here we see you say a bracha for a miracle of you as an individual. The Gemara answers, Amri Anisa Derabim Kol Yamim Mechayvi Levruche, on a miracle that happened to the entire Jewish people. Everyone agrees that you have to say a bracha. And Anisa De Yachid Io Chayiv Levruche, on a miracle of an individual, you're obligated to say that he's obligated to say a bracha, but not everyone else. Other people do not have to say this bracha. There is a statement from there's another version over here that from the Rif that says him and his children and his grandchildren, that 3 generations should say a bracha. If a miracle happens to you, then you, your children, grandchildren should say a bracha when you go to that place and you see that place. You would say a bracha for the miracle. In other words, our Gemara, the wording that we have is Ihu. He has to say a bracha, but there is another version that it's him, his children, his grandchildren would say a bracha. The next Gemara talks about the places where miracles happen, which we actually said in the davening this morning in the Hallel. So with Tana Rabbanan, the rabbis learned in a brisa, Haraya Mabrais Hayam. A person sees the place where the Bnei Yisrael crossed the Yam, the Mabrais Hayarden, sees the place where we passed over the Yarden, the Jordan, in the days of Yoshua. We passed over the Yam, which means where the sea split, and when we left Mitzrayim, and Yarden is the Jordan River where it split when the Yidden came and crossed in the days of Yeshua. Nowadays, I don't know that we know where any of these places, specific places, are. I know the Arabs have a location where they think something on the way to the Dead. Well, it's on the way to the Dead Sea. Something Al Yahud, somewhere where they claim where it's the place where the Yidden crossed the Jordan River, but it's not part of our tradition. We don't. I don't know that we know where exactly they crossed, but in any event, if a person were to know, they would say a special bracha, as we see here. Haraya Mabrais Hayam, Mabrais Hayardin, Mabrais Nachle Arnon, also the place where the valley of Arnon is, where the Bnei Yisrael passed through, and the Avnei Algavish, where the stones of Algavish, the Moirad Beis Choyron, in the lower part of the mountain of Beis Choyron, and that had to do with a war that the Yidden fought in the place of Givon. They wanted to conquer the place of Givon, and I think there were 5 kings over there, and Hashem made great miracles. The big stones, they came down and killed many of the people, and more people died there than from the stones, the big rock boulders, than that the Yidden, it says, then the Yidden killed with their swords. And the Eben Shabikesh Lizrek Oig Melech HaBashan Al Yisrael, another great miracle stone, is a stone that Oig, the king of Bashan, wanted to throw onto the Yidden, and a person would see that stone, would say a special Eben Shiyashav Ala Moshe, the stone that Moshe sat on, when Yeshua gathered the 12,000 soldiers. They fought Amalek, and as long as Moshe's hands were held high, the Yidden won the war. And he sat down. It says that they brought a stone, and he sat down on the stone. If you would see that stone, you would say a special bracha. Ishtay Shalait, and also the wife of light that turned into a pillar of salt, you'd say a bracha. When you see that, the same thing would apply to the wall of Yerichai, that it was swallowed up in its place. On all of these, you would need to give praise before Hashem. So these special places are examples. Brisa is giving examples of what the Mishnah was talking about, that Haroya Makam Shanasa by Nisim Yisrael, you see some place that miracles happen to the Yidden, you should say a special bracha, Brochos and Nisim Lavisenu B'Makam Hazeh. You say this bracha. So the Brisa is giving examples of where that is. Now the Gemara asks, Bishleim Mabrais Hayam, we understand the miracle where the sea split. The Yidden went on dry land. Mabrais Hayarden, we understand in the Mabrais Hayarden, when the Jordan split, as it says, the Kohanim stood on dry land, in the midst of the Jordan. V'chol Yisrael oivrim b'charov, and the Yidden passed by on dry land until they finished. The Gemara asked, but what is this Elamabres Nachle Arnoin Manolan? What is this miracle about the Nachle Arnoin? So it turns out this Nachle Arnoin was a area where it's actually verses in the Torah, but it's a little cryptic. It doesn't explain it so clearly in the wording. The Chsiv, as it says, the Gemara answers. So the Gemara says, Manolan, where do we know about this miracle of the passings of the Nachle, the valley of Arnon? So the Chsiv, as it says, therefore, it should be said in the book about the wars of Hashem, Es Vahev Besufa, Ves Hanachalim Arnon, it says. So it says Vahev Besufa. So what does that mean, Vahev Besufa? So Tana, we learned in the Brisa, this is one of the explanations. Es Vahev Besufa is two people. Es and Hav. Es Vahev. So it says that Shnei Mitzarim Hayu. There were two people who had saras. They had leprosy. They were walking behind the Klal Yisrael, the camp, because they were not allowed to enter the camp. As it says, Bodod Yeshev, right? They have to be separate, and they're not allowed to enter the camp of the Yidden. Michutz lamachane moishava, it says, outside of the camp, they have to is there where they dwell. So they were behind the camp. Yisrael, when the Yidden stood to pass this in between these two mountains. So the Es and Vahev were walking behind the camp of the Yidden. When the Yidden passed these into the when they were about to pass into the valley in between these two mountains, these two big mountains. Also, the Amoraim thought they came and they thought they're going to throw these boulders of the Lahain Kirusa. They made little they made holes into the mountain, the side of the mountain, in order to they were going to throw boulders or rocks down onto the Yidden. V'tashu behind, and they hid themselves there. Amri ki chalfi Yisrael hacha naktalinon. When the Yidden pass by, we're going to kill them, and we'll shoot things at them. And v'lei have a yadi, but they didn't realize the Aron have a maski kamayu the Yisrael, that the ark would go in front of the Yidden, and v'hava mamech luhu turi mekamayu, it would lower the mountains before them, and kivan da'asa Aron, when the ark came, advaku ture bahadi adadi, the mountains attached together, v'katlinon, and they killed these Amorim, these the Amorites who were hiding there, and unachasta maihu lanachle arnoin, their blood flowed down this nachal, this valley. He also es vahev, when es and vahev passed after the Yidden had passed over this area, and now the mountains turned back to mountains. So the chazu dma, the kanafik mibeni ture, they saw this blood that was in between the mountains. Asu va'amri lahu Yisrael, they came and they told the Yidden about this great miracle. Va'amru shira, and they said praise to Hashem. That's what it says afterwards. And again, these are cryptic words in the Chumash. It doesn't it's not so clear what the wording is. Maybe we'll see other explanations as well. But the Gemara here is explaining it this way, that there's a person by the name of Es and another person by the name of Hav, and then they told the Yidden about this miracle, and the Yidden said Ashira, praise with Eshed Hanacholim, the pouring of the valley, which was the blood that was of these Amorim who thought they were going to hurt us. In the end, they were destroyed. Asher Nota, that the mountains spread together. Lashevas are to the side of Mayav, which was called Ar, V'nishan L'gvul Mayav, it attached to Gvul Mayav. So that is the praise that they said. And if a person sees that area, he would say Shira would thank Hashem for that a miracle that Hashem saved us. Avnei Algavish, my Avnei Algavish. What are the Avnei Algavish? This other miracle that we would thank Hashem if we saw the stones of Algavish. Tana Avanim Sha'omdu Algav Ish. So the Brisa says that Avnei Algavish is a different combination of words, that it's the stones that were on account of a person called Ish, V'yardu Algav Ish. So they stood in place on account of a person called Ish, and they fell down on account of a person called Ish. Who were these two Ishes? So Amdu Algav Ish Zeh Moshe. They stood in the air. They stood in midair on account of Ish, which is Moshe. The Ksiv Ish Moshe Anav Ma'od. His name was Ish. Moshe is called Ish. Uksiv, and then mentions that by the Makkah, by the plague of Barad, of the hail, that Vayachtulu HaKolos VaHaBarad, that the thunder and the hail stopped. Umatar loinitach arza VaHaBarad Umatar loinitach arza, and it didn't go down, it didn't touch to the ground, it stayed in midair, which means that the Barad stood in midair, and the way they translate it is even the matar didn't go down to the earth, which basically means that the hail stayed in midair, and it didn't melt. And Yardu al Gavish, so later on it did fall. Who is this? On account of a person called Ish, it did end up falling down. Zeh Yehoshua, this is Yehoshua, because it says about Joshua, about Yehoshua, it calls him Ish, Kach L'chas Yehoshua ben Nun, Ish asher ruach bayid. Hashem told Moshe, take Joshua, he's a person called Ish. Ish that has the spirit. He has a spirit in him, and you should give him smicha. You'll put lift your hand on him, and Moshe put both of his hands on. So Yoshua was an Ish, Uksiv, and it says about Yoshua about this war that it says that Vayihi benusam mipnei bnei Yisrael, when they were running away, fleeing from the Jewish people. Vayihi benusam mipnei bnei Yisrael heim b'moyrad beis chayrim. They were in this place called the lower part of this mountain, Beis Chayrim. Hashem hishlach aleihem avanim gedolos, and Hashem threw upon them these big stones, boulders, which is really referring to Avnei Barad, these hail boulders that actually fell on them and killed them, and more people died from that than the Bnei Yisrael killed. And so these stones were a great miracle, and a person would say Shira. Now, the next story of the Gemara has to do with the stone of Oig Melech HaBashan that he wanted to throw on the Yidden. But I guess we'll stop here. Maybe we'll do that. I guess we'll do that tomorrow. All right. Well, anyway, we got a good beginning here. I believe we caught up to